In this episode, I'm going to be talking about purpose, number 3 in our 6 P's of highly productive people. Welcome to Leadership for Startups, where we help entrepreneurs and leaders build businesses that grow and flourish. Welcome to episode 10. My name is Toyo Shimbi, your host, and if you're joining for the first time, I want to welcome you to our show, and you can now follow this show on Facebook, and that's Facebook me/Leadership for Startups. And also we're on Twitter at leader4 startups. And we'd love to get your feedback, connect with you on these platforms. And also you can go to the website leadershipforstartups.com. Now, over the last 3 episodes, we've been going through what I am calling the 6 P's of highly productive people. And just a quick recap, saying that a startup would only be as good as the people that join the organization. Now, especially in the early stages of the business as you build your team. But we mentioned that we first need to role model self-leadership. And that's what these 6 P's are all about. They're really for you. They're about you, first of all, role modeling this so that you can then look for them in others, either within your team right now or as you go about building your team. So before we get into what to look for in great potential team members, I'm giving you these 6 areas that you can assess first within yourself. So we've looked at the importance of being principle centered, and we gave you a list. Hopefully you downloaded it, leadershipforstartups.com/principles. Download the PDF, have an idea of selecting various principles that you want to live by. And we talked about 2 types. There's the performance set of principles, and there's also the people set of principles. And these are going to pay you dividends down the line as you make decisions in your leadership of your organization. And in the last episode, we talked about the importance of personal development, the need to have a personal development plan. Today, we're covering purpose. Again, another pivotal topic. There's a lot to say on purpose. And at the same time, there isn't so much to say, but maybe it's more to do. Now, if you are a millennial, perhaps you've heard, watched, or read Simon Sinek's, his famous TED Talk, Start With Why. And he's famous for this quote, which is, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Now, personally, I think that that statement is true, but at the same time, I don't think that this has always been the case. And that's because I've heard many entrepreneurs either feeling trapped in their business because it has been so successful, but they have lost the passion. And what that obviously meant was that people were buying the product, and even the entrepreneur leader didn't really have the passion or a clear why. And so, as I said, I agree with Simon Sinek that if you actually do have clarity around the purpose of your organization, the purpose of your product, you're going to be more engaged and eventually be able to stay the long haul. But it doesn't always happen. And you see, sometimes you could be at the right place, at the right time, at the right junction where something is just kicking off, and you get into this business and then it's quote unquote successful, but it might not be your purpose. Just because everybody is doing it or they're making money from this type of business doesn't always mean that that's what you have been called to do or what you're meant to do. To give you an example, Noah Kagan, he's a marketing genius. He decided to take part in this 24-hour challenge, and the task was to generate $1,000 within a month. And so overnight, he comes up with an idea to sell beef jerky. Yes, beef jerky. And he called it Sumo beef jerky because he's created an app called the Sumo app. And so he just called it Sumo beef jerky. This was just a quick idea, got some people to start purchasing it, and it becomes a viable business. it becomes a viable business to the point that after the challenge had ended, it was still making money, and he eventually had to hand it over to a business partner. And at the time of this recording, which is 2019, the site is still selling. It's sumojerky.com. You can go there, you can see it, and he tells his story. But it just tells us that you can be successful in a business, but that does not necessarily mean that that's your purpose. So why did Noah have to hand it over? Because that's not what he felt like he needed to be doing, even though the business was successful. And that's an important point why we are talking about purpose. Now, it seems that this purpose thing isn't so straightforward either, because the question isn't confusing, right? It's one simple question. When we talk about purpose, we're talking about the question that we're answering is, why do I exist? And if we're looking at it from an organizational level, we're asking the same question, why does this organization exist? But let's take it personal first. So it's a simple question, but not a straightforward answer, because not everybody will have a clear answer to this question. And it's obviously, it depends on what stage you are in life. And I think the question covers different layers. For instance, why do you exist? So if you're married and if you have children, for instance, then part of your answer might be that you need to be a great wife. Part of why you exist is to be a great husband, to be a great father to your children. And those are very important answers to that question. And so you would need to have clarity, maybe even these answers written down, because at the end of the day, if those things are important to you, then you want to make sure that as you go about building your business, that you don't lose sight of what's really important, of why you exist. Even Gary Vaynerchuk, as much as he wants you to crush it, he has the criteria that family first, then business. Now, again, it all depends on what stage you're at. Even though in the early stages, there also might be some times where you might need to sacrifice, but you should always have that perspective. Now, sometimes from my experience, the question unfolds like an onion as you can take on new challenges. And as you take on those challenges, your purpose becomes maybe more clear. There's more clarity to what you want to do. And I think of Tony Hsieh, the CEO of Zappos. He sold his first company at the age of 26 to Microsoft. It was a company called Link Exchange. And then later he joined forces with a partner having the money, and he was able to invest in Zappos, which around 10 years later, they were able to sell the company to Amazon for $1 billion, but he's still the CEO. And that's because his purpose is delivering happiness. So in that process, he found more of his purpose. And I think Elon Musk might also fall into this category, from PayPal to SpaceX, Tesla. And you find out that if you read his story, it evolves as he progresses. And if I think of also Sarah Blakely, she was clear on what she wanted to do, but it took a lot of perseverance. And that's partly why it's important for us to have a clear purpose, because the more we know that we've been called, we're here to deliver something as an entrepreneur, I think that that's going to help with perseverance. So you and I, every entrepreneur, every leader needs to keep asking, what is my purpose? Now, companies are encouraged to have a purpose from the moment they launch now, which means that you, the leader, you need to be clear, because you're going to have the privilege of being able to shape what that purpose looks like. And I've seen too many entrepreneurs and leaders of established organizations bringing in consultants and experts to help them define their purpose. But it rarely works, because purpose is an inside job. And when the owner, the business leader, the CEO is clear on his or her purpose, people know. They would know. You see, when you interview staff, when you speak to venture capitalists, when you look in the eyes of people and you're telling your story and you're telling them, this is why I am doing this, this is how I want to make a difference, this is how I contribute, people will buy into you. The people that you're going to hire or that you have hired are following you because you believe in the purpose of the organization, but you first of all need to have clarity around your own personal purpose. And then that's what you should be looking for in the people that you hire. And we'll talk about that in another episode when we talk about interview skills and how to uncover people's purpose, how to help them get on board with your purpose. And that's going to help you in a fantastic way. Why is this important to me? Well, on a personal note, I've always been passionate about businesses. I studied business in university. And as I've mentioned, that I know that businesses make an incredible contribution to society. Now, as you get to know me, you're going to know that I am a person of faith. I'm a Christian. And as a Christian, we are called to do good works. So I'm just sharing with you my own purpose, because if I'm asking you to have clarity around your purpose, I've got to be living it myself. And as I think about the call to do good works and the fact that I've always been passionate about business, some years ago, I read a book that it really helped me to understand how businesses matter. It was titled Why Business Matters to God by Jeff Van Duzer. And in the book, it really helped me to understand the importance of your role as an entrepreneur, the importance of your role as a leader, the importance of your idea and you bringing it into fruition. You see, in the book, he simply explained, and the question that he was answering is, why does it actually matter to God? And his answer was simple. It matters because God wants businesses to produce goods and services that enhances people's lives. Now, we know that not all businesses do that, but we can always choose which ones to work for and which ones to support. And so businesses have actually changed many of our lives. And the second point was that God wants people to do meaningful work. And what that meant was that when the leader understood why he's bringing this organization into being, and he's clear on the difference that they're making, that the people who work for that organization also have meaningful work. So my purpose is to work with leaders, CEOs, leaders of businesses, entrepreneurs, to help them see that if they have clarity around their purpose, in particular, that they're also helping their staff to come to work knowing that they're contributing to something that is meaningful, and everybody deserves to know that their work matters. And in addition to that, as long as the products and services are enhancing people's lives, then we are creating a better world. And that's what doing good looks like for me. So that's what drives me in doing this. And I'm passionate about seeing other entrepreneurs be successful. So, question, what is your purpose? Well, let's continue this conversation. You can go to Facebook, which is Facebook.me/leadership for startups. Let's engage there, or Twitter @leader4startups, or you can go to the website leadershipforstartups.com, and we'll have the show notes there as well, and the links to some of the books that I've mentioned and even some of the sites that I've mentioned in this episode. Look forward to speaking to you in the next episode, where we're going to be talking about priority. Don't forget to subscribe for the next episode, and look forward to hearing from you to your success.